Three phones were pointed at my wife's face as she opened the little gift box. She started to cry, and my brother-in-law smiled, thinking he just got the perfect viral video. He didn't. He got a reality check that shattered our family. My name is Sarah, and my wife Emma is the strongest person I know. 4 years ago, she was diagnosed with cancer. We spent our early 30s in hospital waiting rooms, watching her hair fall out, holding hands while the doctors read charts that felt like death sentences. She survived. She is in total remission today, and I thank God for that every single morning. But the aggressive therapies came with a permanent price tag. Our chances of having biological children were completely wiped out. We packed away the baby names we had picked out and learned to live with a quiet, heavy grief. Emma's younger brother, Mark, is 34. He's the undisputed golden child of her family. He's a decent guy on paper, but he's never faced a real hardship in his life. He's used to the world bending to his schedule. We loved him. We loved his new girlfriend. We tried to be supportive. That was our fragile reality. Until Mark decided it was time to host a very specific family dinner. My mother-in-law invited us to lunch. Just us, Mark and his girlfriend. The night before, Emma started shivering. Her immune system is still incredibly fragile from the treatments. A common cold for you is a week in bed for her. I texted the family chat apologizing and explaining we had to cancel. The response wasn't, "Feel better." It was a barrage of passive-aggressive texts. Mark called me, clearly annoyed. "Are you sure it's not just stress, Sarah? You guys are ruining the schedule." I gripped my phone so hard my knuckles turned white. My wife survived chemotherapy, and he was accusing her of faking a fever to get out of eating chicken parmesan? I kept my cool, explained the thermometer read 102, and hung up. They rescheduled for 2 weeks later. The morning of, Emma woke up drenched in sweat. Fever again. I canceled again. This time, the family group chat went completely silent. No replies. Just freezing, punishing silence. Finally, yesterday, we made it. The third attempt. Emma was still pale and exhausted, but she pushed through because she couldn't handle her mother's guilt trips anymore. We arrived at the restaurant. The vibe was instantly weird. Mark and his girlfriend were practically vibrating with nervous energy. My mother-in-law kept checking her watch. Nobody asked how Emma was feeling. Nobody mentioned the fevers. We finished dessert. Suddenly, Mark cleared his throat. His girlfriend reached into a purse and pulled out a small, beautifully wrapped box. She slid it across the table toward Emma. Simultaneously, Mark, his girlfriend, and my mother-in-law all pulled out their phones. 3 lenses pointed directly at my sick, exhausted wife. I watched Emma's shaking hands untie the ribbon, and in that second, I realized exactly what was happening, but it was too late to stop it. Emma lifted the lid. Inside sat a plastic pregnancy test, 2 pink lines. My wife gasped. She covered her mouth and the tears started flowing instantly. Real, heavy, ugly crying. She stood up, leaning over the table to hug her future sister-in-law, sobbing into her shoulder. The 3 phone cameras tracked her every move. Mark was grinning behind his screen. I sat frozen. I felt a rush of happiness for them, yes, but looking at Emma's shaking shoulders, I felt a wave of pure, suffocating pain. I knew those tears. They weren't just tears of joy for her brother. They were the physical manifestation of her own shattered dreams. It was the grief of knowing she would never hold a test like that in her own hands. They knew about her infertility. They knew about her trauma, and they chose to blindside her with this, not privately, but as a performance. They wanted the dramatic, sobbing reaction from the infertile cancer survivor's sister for their social media announcement. I looked at my hands resting on the white tablecloth. I had 2 choices: smile, clap, and play my part as an extra in their movie, or protect my wife. The hugging stops. Emma sits back down, wiping her face with a napkin, trying to catch her breath. She looks physically drained. Mark lowers his phone just enough to look at me over the top of the screen. He notices I haven't moved. I haven't congratulated them. I haven't even smiled. He smirks, a proud, victorious little smirk. "Well," Mark says loudly, making sure the camera audio picks it up, "now you know why I was so upset for you guys skipping the dinners." He expects me to laugh. He expects me to apologize for being sick, to validate his anger, to tell him that this magical piece of plastic justifies him treating my wife like an inconvenience for a month. I look at his camera lens, then I look directly into his eyes. The restaurant around us seems to mute itself. "You could have just called. We aren't props for your video." I don't yell. I don't raise my voice. I deliver the words flat, cold, and loud enough for the microphone to catch every single syllable. Mark's smirk vanishes. The girlfriend lowers her phone slowly, the screen dropping to the table. My mother-in-law's jaw actually falls open. "Sarah, what is wrong with you?" my mother-in-law whispers, looking around to see if other tables heard me. "She has a feeder, Susan," I say, standing up. "She just finished crying over the one thing cancer stole from her, and you filmed it for TikTok. We're going home." I grab Emma's coat. I put my hand on her back and guide her away from the table. Nobody tries to stop us. Nobody says a word. The perfect viral pregnancy announcement ends with 3 people sitting in dead silence, staring at a plastic stick on a restaurant table. As soon as we got in the car, Emma's temperature spiked again. The emotional crash hit her hard. I drove her home in silence, tucked her into bed, and watched her fall asleep within minutes. My phone, meanwhile, was melting down. My mother-in-law sent a massive paragraph calling me a bitter, selfish monster. She said I was jealous and that I purposely ruined the happiest day of Mark's life because I couldn't handle not being the center of attention. Mark texted me one sentence: "You owe my girlfriend a massive apology." I didn't reply to any of them. I muted the chat. I know for a fact that video is never seeing the light of day. You can't post a heartwarming family reaction when the audio ends with someone calling you out for exploiting cancer trauma. I know it sounds harsh. I know they have the right to be excited about their baby, and part of me wonders if I should have just swallowed my anger for 5 minutes. Emma's mom told me I crossed a line, that I took a moment of pure joy and poisoned it with my own bitterness. Maybe a better person would have just smiled for the camera. But every time I check on my wife, still shivering under 2 blankets, that sliver of guilt disappears completely. They wanted an authentic reaction. I just gave them exactly what they asked for. What do you guys think? Did I go too far by ruining their pregnancy announcement, or were they completely out of line for filming my wife's trauma? Let me know in the comments below. I'll be pinning the best argument tomorrow. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next story.